Mighty Thor podcast, where each and every week we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I'm your host, Ryan Doze, and today we are joined by Stephen Backhouse to talk about the entire Marvel event from 2014, Original Sin. Now, you've probably heard, maybe if you're just familiar with comics from an outside viewer's lens, you might have heard a little bit about the implications of this storyline, especially for our guy, Thor. This is the story where Thor becomes unworthy of Mjolnir. So there's a lot of Thor in here. The implications really spanned a few years after this. So much came out of this story, and it is written by the phenomenal Jason Aaron, who is still known for writing the Mighty Thor. So this story is going to be great to dig into. I just want to encourage you at the front of the episode to go rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on Spotify. Ratings really help us. Reviews help us even more, because that is how we know from you what you're liking, what you're enjoying, how we can create a show that you will enjoy even more. So if you would go do that before we get rolling along here, maybe pause the show right here and then get on with the show. That would really be helpful, and we would appreciate that. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up on the show. Today we're talking about Original Sin. Next week we're going to talk about an Original Sin side story. And then coming up for the majority of this year, we are going to talk about Jason Aaron's entire run on Thor to lead up to Thor Love and Thunder coming out this summer. Oh my gosh, there's so much Thor stuff, so much Thor content that's going to be coming out this year. We want to make sure that you are prepared for the Mighty Asgardians' big 60th anniversary. So this is a great place to start. Stephen Backhouse, myself, Original Sin, starting right now. Well, everybody, here is our chat for the day. We have finally gotten to, we did this a little bit out of order. We talked about the repercussions, the results of Original Sin after we should have probably talked about Original Sin first. Well, we're finally getting to it. We talked about the results of it way back in November. We're talking about the actual event today with Stephen Backhouse, who he and I go back a little bit of a ways through his podcast, but I want to let Stephen introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit about him.
So I'm a doctor of political theology, and I'm an author. I wrote the biography of Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher and rabble-rouser. And I do a lot of work to do with religion and politics. And I'm a critic of nationalism and various forms of patriotism and that kind of stuff. And I used to teach. I've taught at various universities, and now I've gone freelance. I'm a writer. I'm a teacher. And I often act as a sort of consultant for various organizations that are trying to organize themselves well. So because of this political theology side of me, I often get asked to help organizations like, how do we use power well? How do we organize ourselves well? How do we build institutions that don't hurt people? So that's the kind of work I do. And I don't get to talk about comics very much.
There's another person kind of floating around in the ether of our relationship, Sean McCoy. He had recommended to me to consult and talk with people about things they love and not the things that are their work.
Yeah, right.
So you've referenced comics before. I believe you have at least a few. You have like a West Coast Avengers?
I can. Yeah, I'll talk about those. You can't see them today because I'm in a different location, but I have a wall of comics behind me all the time when I'm doing my Zoom calls and stuff.
So Stephen is and I'm saying this, I'm not being asked to say this, but he is truly brilliant. He's helped me through some existential crises through the last few years, which has been super helpful. But I knew that he also was a big fan of comics. And I know you really like Immortal Hulk, which immediately gets you street cred with any comic book fan. and I was just talking through stuff with him one day, and was like, "Hey, would you like to come on and talk about like a Thor related storyline?" And I've always wanted to do Original Sin
Well, it's very
because
theological, isn't it? The
it's
original sin is
incredibly,
as theological as it
incredibly,
gets.
and I just thought Stephen's voice would add a lot of value to this conversation. So
And there was some politics in here too. I was very interested by this. So this is what
yeah,
I want to talk
so
about.
it helps that Stephen lives in these worlds, and also he's a fan of the medium that we're going to
Yeah.
be breaking down. So this is going to be a pretty free-flowing discussion. This week, we're going to talk about the base storyline of Original Sin. And then next week, we're going to talk about the side story that was happening at the same time that features more Thor and Loki and the 10th Realm, which is a fairly new concept in Thor's mythology within Marvel Comics. But this storyline has 8 numbered issues, and then it has an issue 0. And this event started out in 2014. A lot of different things were happening in Marvel Comics around this time, but this arc bled into all different areas of the Marvel universe. And I just kind of want to, like, before we break down the plot, I just want to, Stephen, first impressions of this story, and just kind of some of your opening thoughts about it. I'd love to hear them.
Well, I'm not a so I definitely am a Marvel guy. I was way more of a Marvel guy. Well, I am a Marvel guy, but I was way more into really staying on top of everything in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Okay.
And so 2014, I was not up on things. So
Yeah.
to me, like, was Original Sin one of their crossover? Is this a big crossover type event? This was their big event.
So
okay.
There was a few books that went along with this. Original Sin, the main thing, and then they had a Hulk versus Iron Man book that was going on at the same time, then the Thor and Loki one, and then there was another side series called Original Sins, where it dove into like how, because characters that aren't referenced in this book, like Doctor Doom has an issue, at least one issue of Original Sins. The Inhumans have people that weren't necessarily directly involved here, they have some side books for them. And of course, this bled into people's individual books, the solo titles. So yeah, it was
my last big crossover was Civil War. So I read the Civil Wars. I really followed that.
I love Civil War. Also, my favorite crossover.
Yeah, and the Avengers Disassembled as well. That event, I remember enjoying that.
Yeah,
a lot of that I enjoyed. So I'm like a Michael Bendis guy. I like Bendis. I like.
Yeah, no, Bendis is awesome.
So but then I kind of burnt out on it just financially as well. I couldn't really keep affording it anymore.
We all go through that.
This was fun because I didn't really like. I didn't enjoy the Secret Invasion. I didn't enjoy the Secret Skrulls and all that. And that's where I got a little bit like, I don't know, I just started to get tired of the events.
Yeah.
So then I started to be more interested in just solo titles, and I was more interested in reading. Like I stopped caring about the actual storylines of the Marvel universe, and I started just more interested in specific authors or runs.
Okay.
That weren't like the stuff about, I don't know, Moon Knight, for example. I just went back and read some Moon Knight things, or I was enjoying some of I like Bendis's run on Daredevil. I don't know. I just kind of found people that I liked that it wasn't connected to the big Marvel, most up-to-date storylines, for example.
Yeah.
And then of course the Hulks. I love that. Yes. I kind of enjoyed the supernatural stuff just because the horror stuff. I really enjoyed that. So this was fun. To me, Original Sin was like my step back into big event Marvel, which I hadn't really paid much attention to. So that was fun.
You actually hit on something right there with and this is kind of a side conversation in and of itself, but I'd love to go here with you. That big event Marvel can either be like the most spectacular thing, like in my opinion, Civil War, or it can fall flat, and it's like, we spent 6 months devoted to this storyline as an entire company.
Well, I always find it starts well and then it ends, and you're like, just finish already, or just like Civil War. Even I thought they started really well, and it was almost like they weren't smart enough. They weren't as smart as the idea they came up with, or something. You kind of notice that happens. Like all the writers, maybe it's just because there's so many writers trying to tell the story. It's kind of like the story is smarter than the writers are.
It's a giant complex, it can be a giant complex like masterpiece, or it can be a giant complex mess towards the end. And it's like, well, wait, but hold on. Back in issue 3 of this, you said something, but then in here, it's like a throwaway line. Oh yeah, that big plot from earlier on didn't matter. And there's actually points in Original Sin where,
Right.
why in the world did we do this for 3 issues or 4 issues, all to be like, oh, by the way,
what are some of those hanging threads? Because
okay,
I don't follow all of the stories.
So let me give a broad overview of what Original Sin is, and then we'll dig into our favorite parts and our, maybe some parts we weren't as big of fans of. And for listeners, oftentimes listeners are like, Ryan, when are you going to critique something? Today I'm going to critique something.
I'll be critical as well.
But here's the main plot of the Original Sin crossover event, which 30,000 foot view. The Watcher, who is Uatu, he is sworn to always view what is happening on in the universe and to never interfere. He has a terrible track record of always interfering, or he indirectly interferes. It's like, I followed the letter of the law, but I didn't follow the spirit of the law. And Uatu is murdered on the moon, and our boy Thor is the one that finds him. He's the first person on the scene. Steve Rogers and the Avengers and Nick Fury, who is this is pretty much a Nick Fury centric crossover event. It is Nick Fury's big penta, his ultimate storyline. All of the Avengers get involved, and then these mysterious teams start going off on these rabbit trails to find evidence of the killer of Uatu. That he's been up to a lot of other stuff. He's been killing monsters throughout time. He's been, doing interdimensional warfare with supernatural beings, and all this stuff happens. And
leaving green bullets everywhere.
Leaving gamma bullets everywhere. So that was an interesting little part of, like, that's a really big bullet and it's glowing green. Why? Usually things in the Marvel universe that glow green, not good. But the story takes a lot of winding turns, and people, heroes turn on other heroes, and there's life model decoys of Nick Fury, because it wouldn't be a Nick Fury story without life model decoys. And a lot of craziness ensues. To answer one question, who killed the Watcher? So it's like a cosmic superhero mystery story. It's like a game of Clue being played out over 8 issues in an entire comic book universe. And we come to the end, and this series came out in 2014, 2015, so I'm not terribly worried about spoilers, but you find out that Nick Fury killed the Watcher. Because the Watcher had seen all the crimes that Nick Fury had done to save the Marvel universe, but they were crimes nonetheless. And Nick Fury kills the Watcher, and then at the very end, Nick Fury assumes the role of the Watcher with his eye. So all of that, and you might think, this is a Thor podcast. This ain't a Nick Fury podcast. Why are we talking so much about Nick Fury? There's 2 key moments with Thor in this storyline, and I just want to touch on those right now, and then we'll nitpick, because I want to give our boy the headline at the front, that he is the one that discovers Uatu is dead. He is the first person on the scene, so he's the one that alerts, the Avengers and Steve Rogers and all of them that this is happening. And then for a few issues, he kind of goes MIA. He'll show up in big fight scenes here and there, but then at the end, he has a massive fight with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury's like all decked out, like he's like Iron Man meets the Punisher towards the end. He's got all these guns and this armor, and he and Nick Fury are fighting and just going at it in space, which is a really cool visual. Nick Fury trying to take down Thor is kind of hilarious, but then when you see all the stuff he's decked out with, it makes a little more sense. And at one point in the fight, this is probably one of the things that Original Sin is best known for. Nick Fury leans in and he whispers something to Thor, and instantly Thor is taken aback, and the hammer falls out of his hand and it plummets to the moon. And the rest of the arc, you see, there we go. Steven's got it up on his device right now. All the rest of the panels of the arc, I think all of issue 8, Thor is trying to lift the hammer and he can't. So we know that whatever Nick Fury whispered to Thor, it has in some way made him incapable of lifting the hammer. So those are the big Thor beats of the story, but that's the overview. And now, like, we're just gonna open it up and talk about a few of the beats that. Let's start with the ones we didn't like, so that
I've got questions because I'm not. You're the Thor guy, so I want to ask. I do want to eventually ask.
And say this, people. I will answer them as best as possible.
I didn't understand why. I don't know. I don't want to take over the flow of your show.
Perfectly fine.
But one question I'd like to ask eventually is, why does he lose the power? Just finding out that he's got, because we find out elsewhere what the secret is, and the secret is you have a sister.
Well, right? So yes.
So why does that make him lose his powers to hold the hammer?
So Thor learns two things. He learns two things in this arc.
Yeah.
So one key part. See, this is where the convolution.
Oh, because Nick Fury doesn't tell him you have a sister. That's not what he tells him, is it?
So they even say this in the comics. A Z-list villain named
the Orb.
Who has an eyeball for a head. He's a visual. He's just a stunning visual. But he unleashes all the secrets that are held in Uatu's eye.
Yeah.
And the secret that Thor hears in his ear is you have a sister.
Yeah.
That is not the thing Nick Fury whispers to him.
Gotcha. Right.
Stephen, do you know what Nick Fury whispers to Thor?
I can't remember now. Does it come out in the Angela storyline?
It doesn't. So
okay, go on, tell me.
Jason Aaron, being the
he's great,
masterful storyteller he is, and his Thor run continues with Jane Foster becoming Thor and a beautiful weaving of the theme of worthiness throughout. And then eventually it comes out that the thing that Nick Fury whispered to Thor that was enough. I'm not making a judgment of whether it was good or bad, but it was enough in the story to make him unworthy, was that Nick Fury whispered Gore was right. And for those of you who maybe don't know who Gore is the God Butcher, who is from the first story that Jason Aaron told. And Gore's whole thing was that gods basically are a shit show. Gods never actually save anybody. And that whole thing that gods are, which gods are worthy? Well, according to Gore, no gods are worthy. And Nick Fury says Gore was right. So
and then in the world of Marvel or in Aaron's world,
that's my layman's terms version of what 8 years of comics and Jason Aaron's masterpiece.
Okay. I think I must have read that on a Wikipedia or something, because I was like confused, but that's all coming back to me now. Okay.
Someday we will cover that issue where Thor learns that secret, and I can't wait to touch that.
It's really weird, isn't it, that they make these series and they put that in there like a really important part of the storyline.
Yeah.
And they never explain it at all. In fact, you have to have read previous storylines from 8 years previous or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think that's honestly what it could be. It's my favorite thing as a comic book fan to notice little things throughout the way. And you get like an example. A crossover event that I really loved was the King in Black, which came out, I believe, last year. The King in Black is a big Venom storyline. And it ends with all these symbiotes coming to Earth and trying to take over the Earth. Well, the story had begun being told 4 years previous in Donny Cates's Venom #1. And they told it overall. And then I'm, when I went to Disney with my family earlier last year, I was reading King in Black and I was like, oh my gosh, the thing from the oh my gosh, I'm sitting in the back of a van just screaming, and people are like, what in the hell is he so excited about? I'm like, because in issue 3 of whatever, like, but it can also be really
Do you think they
intimidating.
planned it, or do you think they wrote King in Black and then went back to issue 3? Or do you think when he was writing issue 3, he thought, oh, I'm going to
You know
put this
what?
in motion now?
I, you know what? It would not shock me. Are you familiar with Donny Cates's work, Stephen?
I don't think so. What other stuff has he
So
done?
Donny Cates is he started at he's done some independent stuff like
Okay.
A Tomahawk, God's Country, books like that.
Okay.
God's Country coming to Netflix soon.
Yeah.
And he also wrote Thanos. He wrote a Thanos series when he came to Marvel.
Okay.
Venom and Thor, I think, would be his biggest like continuous titles.
Okay.
And then he did events like The King in Black, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something here, but
Right.
Thor and Venom would be his big ones, I would say.
And you think he had it planned, or
Oh yeah,
he's putting the pieces in place? Okay.
at least I would say he at least had it mapped out that far, and just the way that he's telling Thor's story right now.
Yeah.
The end of this incarnation of Thor was predicted in the 6th issue of Thor. Like, the end of this run will end with a certain person. I won't spoil that for people that haven't read the newest run of Thor.
Right.
But it will end with a showdown with a certain person.
So what's happening in 2014 when Original Sin is coming out? Like when Nick Fury whispers that into Thor's ear, what's
So,
happening in the Thor storyline?
oh my goodness. So there's actually, so at that time, there's a lot going on with Loki that's
Okay.
important in Thor's world, not necessarily for Original Sin purposes, but Loki is in the middle of his Agent of Asgard story,
Oh yeah. Okay.
which is a phenomenal Al Ewing story, which I know
Yeah.
because of
I like
Immortal
Al Ewing.
Hulk, you
Yeah.
appreciate Al Ewing.
Yeah.
Odin is kind of off the map right now. Odin went MIA,
He's in
and
a hut playing chess with death or something.
oh gosh, I can't wait to get to that. But I'm gonna pull up I've got my handy dandy iPad here that I'm gonna fill in a few blanks for myself here because my memory is aha. So Thor is at the point in the God of Thunder Jason Aaron run where he's fought
Okay.
Gore. The God Bomb has happened, which is a storyline we're going to cover soon. And I'm excited to go revisit. He's had some fights with Malekith, and it's kind of just been, in my opinion, it's been really good Thor stories,
Yeah.
but nothing really crazy different. Like Gore is really great. And then I would say after Original Sin, Jason Aaron gets really creative with
Okay.
how to tell Thor's story, because after Original Sin, the story of Thor goes off into the Thor persona of Jane Foster.
Yeah.
And then the unworthy Thor, which is Thor trying to reconcile, like, how can I become worthy again?
Okay. Okay.
So we're Original Sin is kind of at a crisis point
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
character,
Yeah.
and then it splits off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, we will, in the second half of our conversation, we'll talk about Loki and Angela and how that all adds into the crazy.
I do like that idea though of a god realizing that he's causing more trouble than, like, who actually has an existential crisis. Like, I am not a good for the world. I should stop.
So
I like that.
we talked about this a few weeks ago with the guys from Systematic Geekology, that Thor not being worthy of the hammer could have fallen really flat, and
Right.
I don't believe it did. I think that when you tell a story about Thor rediscovering his godhood, I find that compelling. So, and some well, I'll put this nicely, some have been very critical of the Jane Foster era of Thor.
Right.
I really love that era of Thor because Odin's son was going off and doing his own thing at the time. It wasn't like Thor was dead. Thor
No.
was still there. He just
Yeah.
didn't have the mantle and the hammer, and
Yeah.
but I really think this is a original sin is it's a crossroads of Jason Aaron telling really good Thor stories, but not anything monumentally different yet.
Yeah.
And then it intersects with original sin,
Okay.
and then we go a bunch of different ways after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my again.
I'm also I'm trying to think what was happening in the Marvel movie universe in 2014.
So 2014,
Because
I believe Dark World was coming out.
okay,
I'm gonna look at that right now.
poor old Dark World.
So okay, here's my. I promised. This is coming out. So we just did our first Thor movie review as this episode. Like we spent the first 2 weeks of this year. I promised more movie content, and I figured I would give everybody a whole friggin' movie. So we just did our commentary on that. And I've had a few people be like, do Dark World and friggin' rip it to shreds. I'm like, I don't want to rip it to shreds. I do have.
Isn't it interesting how like the Avengers Endgame they doubled down on Dark World, like they put in like Dark World scenes became like pivotal to the whole movie. Isn't that
right? Yeah, it kind of nuts how that whole thing worked out.
No, but I was just also thinking from a business point of view, because the original sin, like you mentioned, it gathers all these different people together, 3 different teams.
Yes,
and it was a really weird mixture of people, and I was just thinking, are these people are just chosen because they're all in the Marvel movies at the moment, aren't they? Like, like not all of the people were there for reasons not to do with the comic books, as far as I could tell. What do you think?
So I got the outline right here. So in 2014, both Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy had just come out.
Right, exactly.
So
that's why Bucky Barnes is there all of a sudden. And
and
that's why Gamora is there. It's like, come on, I don't. And Nick Fury says, "I've chosen you all because you're going to replace me," or something. You're like, really?
And so you won't be shocked by the movie that came out next. It was Age of Ultron came out next.
Right.
So, so lots. You're right. Like they do highlight characters that whether it was explicitly on purpose or it was like, hey, you might want to do something with Gamora in this. Like, or you might want to do something with Bucky in this.
Like, from a writing point of view, I was like, well, you can tell they were probably being told you have to include these people, but they did a good job of it. I thought Jason, what's his name? Jason Aaron did a good job of it. But you also could tell when he was interested and not interested in which characters he actually cared about, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of heavy hitters in here, but really the story centers around characters like Doctor Strange, the Punisher, who just we'll make this very clear for fans, because I know like the Punisher is at some, because a new Punisher #1 is coming out soon, and big stink was made about changing the skull.
Oh, really?
My 2 thoughts about the Punisher: he's my least favorite Marvel character. I do not like the Punisher, and I could give a crap about that skull. I do not care. You could change it to a friggin' flower and I wouldn't care. So
it's become like the red pill for the Matrix. It's been adopted by the kinds of people that creators are like, wait a second, this isn't what we meant.
You find like some old school fans like, come on, just take it back. I'm like, yeah, but if you're a big multi-billion-dollar company like Marvel and Disney, they don't care. Which good on them for changing it. But
although he makes sense in this story, because I would like to talk about being a vigilante. Like, I'm always interested when comics start to pay attention to what it is to actually be a vigilante, what that actually means.
I do like the communication between him and Strange, because Strange is like, I've seen things you wouldn't believe, and Punisher's like, I've seen things you wouldn't believe. Like, just because I don't live in this space doesn't mean that I haven't seen horrors. Like, right. And they have a good little interchange there, but it centers on characters like that. And then here's a character that I want to talk about. Bucky plays an important role in a few of the surprise beats of this story, because they're trying to figure out who killed the Watcher, and they're all the information is being sprinkled about. We don't really get huge chunks of information at a time. And Bucky, at one point, it's believed that he kills Nick Fury, but we find out it's a decoy.
Is there anybody reading Original Sin crossover event in 2014 that actually thinks Nick Fury got killed at that moment?
I'm so surprised they haven't done life model decoys of him in the MCU yet, because it's kind of of a thing. Like,
yeah, I know. It's just that's what it is. You're like, all right, okay, there it is. There's the life model decoy. Okay.
And Nick, like the real Nick Fury, shows up. The real quotes Nick Fury shows up, super old Nick Fury, and for a few issues, he tells this story about how he has been protecting the Marvel universe from the monsters that nobody knew about.
This is where I have issues here. I want to talk about this.
So, and he and Howard Stark, developed this plan that the world only knows about the one monster that got through. They don't know about the other 9 that Nick Fury had to take out before they reached the surface, pretty much. And whether that's supernatural, aliens, the underworld, and he refers to himself as the man on the wall. Yeah. And at the end of the story, Nick says, one of you, he's looking at this group of heroes, and he says, one of you will take my position. And it ends up being Bucky Barnes. Yeah. Bucky Barnes becomes the man on the wall. So that's a theme from the story that it's like one of those things. Did I like it? I don't know if I liked it, but I definitely don't hate all of it. But what was your thoughts about the?
So is that? I mean, first of all, just before we talk about the meaning of it, is Bucky Barnes now? I mean, in the Marvel right now, in the comic universe, is Bucky Barnes the Watcher on the wall, and is Nick Fury still the Watcher?
So I'll be honest, I don't actually know what those characters are up to.
Like, that is a detail that I dip my toe into Marvel every once in a while, and I totally miss those details. If that's still the case, I miss those.
And there's been about 15 major events since then.
And making Bucky Barnes the person I see, this is the thing that I find. This is where we're getting into like the real world politics of Marvel, which I always find interesting.
Let's go.
I'm surprised they didn't make Captain America. I suppose they needed Captain America for other things. They needed somebody who was a U.S. soldier who wasn't important to the Marvel universe, so they could stick him on the moon, right?
So I think the reason why you don't do Cap is because Nick and Cap had this conversation that Cap was like, but we've stopped everything. We've stopped everything, and Nick's like, you stopped everything that you knew about.
Isn't this just the Illuminati storyline? How is this different than what Bendis did years ago?
Honestly, tonally, it feels very much like
it's the Illuminati with Z-list people. It's weird, or maybe D-list.
Honestly, the person that I think, as much as I maybe don't love him as a character, the person you put as the man on the wall is the Punisher,
right?
In my opinion, because he literally does not care. Like, he put a gun in his hand and a target in front of him, and he's gonna overzealously go at that. I think he would have made perfect sense as that, but I'm sitting here in my dining room in the middle of Nebraska, and Jason Aaron is actually a few hours down the road in Kansas City, but he's probably writing better stuff than I am. Guaranteed he's writing better stuff than I am.
But there was this idea, which this is my real world observations in politics coming in, but this idea, they make it explicit, right? That like Nick Fury was this undercover, essentially CIA agent type person who was doing all the dirty work. He's basically he's the Jack Nicholson character from, You Can't Handle the Truth, right? He's just that. What's that movie? I'm blanking on the name.
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
And it's this story that people, Americans especially, like to tell themselves about themselves, right? Like, we do bad things. Our people do bad things in order to keep us so that we can sleep at night. And And Nick Fury's like explicitly saying that's what he does. And
he's almost saying, you should be grateful that I did this.
Right. And I would really like, this is one of those examples where I thought that the idea was smarter than the execution of it,
Okay.
or they pulled their punches. I feel like maybe the writers wanted to say more, but they were not really allowed to. That they like to use the language, like the vigilante. I think comics are at their best. I think somebody like Alan Moore or somebody is at his best. Like he's really good at saying, actually, the whole idea of a vigilante, which is somebody who puts themselves, like a Punisher, puts themselves above and outside the law in order to, put his vision of justice on the world.
Yeah.
Those people actually make the world worse. Like it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't actually solve anything. It actually just creates more and more and more violence, right? And I feel like that idea, whenever it shows up in comics, especially about superheroes who are vigilantes, almost by definition, I'm always so interested in that. I'd love to see them go further with that. And they almost never do. They always kind of retreat back into that comfortable, like, oh, well, at least we've got good people doing bad things for good motives or something like that. And it does bother me because it's like, that's not, that's an idea that needs to be examined a lot better. Like A Few Good Men does it, where Jack Nicholson isn't a good guy. He's actually a bad guy,
Yeah.
And Nick Fury is he's a bad guy, but they don't really have the guts to say it, I don't think.
Well, and the superheroes that go and try to confront him, they say like Black Panther is very emphatic, like, answer the question, who killed the Watcher? Answer. I'm not going to forget who did it. And you have characters like T'Challa who are kind of in a lot of rooms. If you're going to fill a room with Marvel heroes, a guy like T'Challa, Steve Rogers, they're probably going to be the moral conscience in the room. Or as moral as a conscience in that room can get. And so he's like, answer the damn question. And Nick's like, fine, I did it. Fine. And Nick's rationale is so warped. He's like, he saw too much.
Now I think it's warped, but does the comics think it's warped? Is it a warped view within the Marvel universe, or is he being presented as the hero, or is he being presented as warped, do you think?
So I in the last few panels of number 8, Uatu says, I have seen, in layman's terms, he says, I've seen so much, I've seen enough. And I think there's a lot in there actually that's packed in, because Uatu has watched since the dawn of our universe. And so he's seen everything. And at some point, you have all that cosmic power, but at some point, I've seen too much death. I've seen too much, destruction. I've seen too much lying. I've seen too much of this. I'm done. I'm done watching. And I think Uatu's story is more tragic. Honestly,
his dad, like he's put in that his father was the one who started the whole Council of the Watchers or whatever it is, right? In order to make sure no genocide ever happened. Hey?
I think Uatu gets a raw deal in this. It's like, you got to stay here and watch. You can't interact. Also, when you're done, like there's nobody,
I didn't understand that, because the backstory that we get in, like, is it issue 0 is, the Watchers all started because at one time there was a race of people and the Watchers intervened, and then it led to nuclear holocaust for this race of people. And so the Watchers said, okay, we're never going to do that again. But then they preside over watching all these different humans genocide each other all the time anyway. And you're like, what was it you didn't want to do? You didn't want to stop genocide, or you didn't want to interfere in? So I didn't quite understand.
You didn't want to interfere with genocide, or you just didn't want to cause genocide.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you think the interference was the problem, not the genocide? That's
either way, the genocide is happening.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, we're gonna watch genocide because once, a long time ago, we interfered and there was genocide, and that made us feel so bad. So now we're never gonna interfere again. We're just gonna watch the genocide. You're
gonna watch whole planets destroy themselves, and what? Because nothing else good was on.
But again, I would have liked to have seen that idea played out a bit better, right? But anyway,
so
and now I'm not quite sure how Bucky Oh no, how Nick Fury is going to be the Watcher now, because
Well, yeah, I haven't followed up on that part. I really only followed up on the Thor part.
did you notice that he's chained? Did you notice there's this panel where
Yes.
he's got a chain around? Now that's interesting. That's like he's not allowed to. He's physically not allowed to intervene now. He can't intervene.
So we picked apart parts of it,
Yeah.
and apologies for those of you that were looking for a linear breakdown of Original Sin. There's just so much here. It's a
Yeah.
it's a storyline that spanned almost a full year of Marvel Comics. So there's a lot here. But I want to know,
Okay.
Stephen, what were some of your favorite parts of this story in these main issues? And we'll cover Thor and Loki next week.
I enjoyed. I can't really. I can't remember all the different characters, but I really enjoyed the fact there's 3 different teams.
Yeah.
And they're all being manipulated in different ways. So there's Captain America, and who's on his team?
Well,
He's investigating.
Cap is kind of running the main Avengers team, and
Right.
then there's Doctor Strange and the Punisher.
Yeah.
Then there's Moon Knight, Gamora, and Bucky.
Yeah.
And then there's T'Challa, Ant-Man, and Emma Frost.
It's just the weirdest collection of people.
Emma Frost feels like you thrown in there like we needed an X-Man. We needed an X-Man.
In what justification is like we need somebody who's potentially going to replace the Watcher? I know, Ant-Man.
They even call it out in there
when
Nick Fury's like, one of you will replace me, and Scott Lang's like, me? You know what I do, right? My goodness.
I mean, I just felt like that kind of stuff made me laugh because it was so obviously that the characters had been foisted on the writers because Ant-Man was big that year or whatever. And then the writers just went, all right.
Ant-Man was going to come out the next year.
It's kind of like, fine, we'll put Ant-Man in, but we ain't going to like it. Like, we're going to make fun of it. But I quite enjoyed that dynamic of different teams doing stuff for different reasons. And they each didn't know why they were there kind of thing. So I thought that was, I quite enjoyed the whodunit side of it as well.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know who killed the Watcher. I don't know. I found that sort of interesting. And I wasn't even like when it was revealed that Nick Fury was the killer, it wasn't like it wasn't like a twist. Like it wasn't a dumb twist. And it also made sense. Like I hadn't like totally predicted it, but I also wasn't annoyed when they did it, So I thought it was pretty well for an event book. It actually held together pretty well, and it had fun storylines going through. And I enjoyed the Punisher and Doctor Strange together. I don't think I've ever seen those two in one story.
Honestly, as much as I don't appreciate, as much as I'm just not a Punisher fan. I did find their team up to be hilarious and also philosophically distinct. Like I thought that those two were. It's like an odd couple. It's like, well, these two things don't belong, and like, well, they both want to protect people. They just have different ways of going about it, and they believe in retribution for wrong, because Doctor Strange says several times in the last few things like, Nick, you killed thousands of beings. Like, you're not different than Frank here. You're not different.
Exactly.
You just feel more justified.
But everybody has this is that back to the real world politics. Everybody always thinks that they are good. Nobody's acting because they think it's bad, right? Like even Hitler didn't think he was being evil, right? Like nobody thinks they're being evil. And I quite enjoy that the different groups where they all had justifications, which in their mind they were doing the right thing. But what they weren't noticing was they're actually just leaving just utter chaos. Like they're just violence is just breeding violence over and over and over again. It's not actually solving anything. And I don't know. I quite enjoyed that. I would have liked to have seen some other voices in these books, sort of pressing some of the, like the Punisher a bit more or Nick Fury a bit more. I can't remember. Did Stephen Strange, does he doesn't take that kind of view, does he? He's not.
What type of view?
He's quite critical of Punisher, I thought. Isn't
he? They don't end the story as best friends.
No,
they end in an.
I'm trying to remind myself of how they end.
They end it in a very uneasy, like like we need to figure this out, but like we don't need to like each other.
Right.
Very much like let's just get the job done and go our separate ways.
And what about the villains? Like, so we get. I don't understand what was he trying to do with them? Like Oblette or what's her name, Dominatrix, whatever her name is.
Dominatrix.
What is her name?
I don't remember how to pronounce her name, but like Midas. You know, I honestly
looks like the Thing. I genuinely had to look up, like, is this some version of the Thing? I don't know.
Honestly, they were probably my least favorite part of the whole story, because I was like, the whole story could have existed without them.
Because they were just robbing the Watcher for his weapons.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I didn't feel like they deserved to be around for 6-7 issues.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. And then, I mean, if anything, they could have made the Orb. They hint that he becomes like another kind of vigilante.
Yeah, like a freak, almost like a perverted Watcher.
It would have been nice to see him become really powerful. Instead, he just becomes kind of a pervert.
Yeah. It's his last scene. He busts in on I'm presuming a very mistreated wife.
Yeah, it looks like a revenge.
Yeah, like threatening her husband, and she says to the Orb, like, "You're not gonna stop me," and he's like, "Oh no, I just want to watch." Like,
see, that reminded me of real, like, I got real like Neil Gaiman Sandman vibes.
Yeah, like Neil Gaiman presents just this panel.
It was like a Vertigo line. It was like when I used to sort of read horror comics and didn't quite understand what I was reading when I was a kid. To me, that was a really the Orb was like a whole different character, which I actually quite enjoyed. That I found the fact that he was sort of slimy and odd.
Yeah,
I actually liked that. I wish they'd just focused on him as a villain, and they didn't need all the other his team. They didn't need the team at all. They just needed him.
I think so. So they could have done more with the Orb, or it's like, hey, if that's the direction you want to go in, like go full bore, like go at it. But like I think some things where it just it seemed like there was so much going on that I was like, oh right, Nick Fury is the main character and Uatu is the main character. Like if you think that anybody else is the main character, you're probably going to get confused because people come in and out all the time, and we have like a secondary group, but really it's Nick Fury and Uatu. And I was more interested in Uatu's story, because when we agreed to do this, I went and read issue 0 right away, and Uatu's story is actually really good.
Yeah, it's really sweet, and there's no payoff to that. It's like he has a little. So young Nova, right? Who is
Sam Alexander? That's the Sam Alexander Nova.
Is he one of the young Avengers or something?
So after this, the newer run of Avengers after this was all new, all different Avengers, and it was like Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Jane Foster, Thor, Sam Wilson, Captain America, and Sam Alexander Nova was a part of that team, I do believe.
Right. Okay. So I didn't really know who he was, but I knew who Nova was. But I quite enjoyed the fact that he was like the first person to offer a token of friendship to the Watcher, and the Watcher keeps he has nothing. He keeps no keepsakes at all, or no record of anything, except he does keep the one little gift that this Nova gave him.
Yeah,
I thought that was really sweet, but it didn't really lead to anything, did it? It didn't become part of the storyline.
So this gets to my favorite thing about the series. Issue 0 was my favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree.
Because like it's
I agree.
I kind of if I were going to retcon this, which who am I to critique Jason Aaron's work, but I would have maybe made Nova the point of view character for this, just to kind of give it a feeling of innocence, but also at the end I wonder if it would have been better for no one to have killed the Watcher. You do like, say who killed the Watcher, like, say his like space station blows up or whatever, and like, oh, who killed the Watcher? And maybe you just have it to where like Nova's trying to bring the Watcher back, like, hey, no, you've seen so much, there's still hope, like we can
I mean, because we said that Nick Fury does it. I mean, Nick Fury does technically kill the Watcher, but it is revealed that the Watcher has essentially orchestrated it all so that Nick Fury will kill him. So it's suicide by Nick Fury, basically.
Yeah, it's a weird, convoluted, assisted suicide.
Because I've seen too much, and I would have loved to have seen this Nova friendship where Nova talks him off the ledge.
Yeah,
right. They set it up, and then he never shows up again. That friendship doesn't pay off in the end.
Issue 0 was my favorite because
it was a really good issue.
And honestly, as a standalone comic, it was just really good. And I really didn't.
It had some artwork was kind of Kirby-like, and I don't know, it just had something trippy about it.
Did you like the Mike Deodato artwork for the main series? What did you think of the artwork?
I liked it, but I find it sort of generic, I guess now.
Okay.
In a kind of a Marvel generic house style.
I was often confused by the shadowing.
Right.
So much. Well, and in some panels, it was really powerful because he uses shadow to, elicit this this mysterious quality, which is good because the whole storyline is a mystery. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, Mike, it's so dark. Just give me some light, give me some color. But I think they were more going for a tonal art style of mystery and shadow and espionage, as opposed to clarity, and because it's not a bright sunny story. So
it definitely reminded me of reading was it the Dark Avengers? Is that the storyline? Or it definitely reminded me of reading those kind of books. Who's the artist for that?
Oh goodness, let's go to the. So
I'm not all the real comic nerds are screaming right now at their headphones, but
they'll be fine.
But to me, it's also sort of dark. It didn't seem very fun, but I suppose it's not meant to be fun and playful, right? Maybe that's why I liked issue 0, because it seemed to be more of that trippy space adventure.
Do you want to know the irony of who drew Dark Avengers?
Yeah.
It was Mike Deodato.
There you go.
So
see, I noticed it without even noticing it.
Yeah. That was that. I was like, oh man, I looked at the first cover of that, and I was like, man, that looks a lot like. Yep, that's him. So I want to say,
so maybe I'm not. Maybe it's not a Marvel house style. Maybe it's just because I'm reading too much Mike Deodato.
Maybe this is probably why we liked the first issue. It's a one-shot done by Mark Waid.
Yeah,
who is a great author of so many characters.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, do we have any other final thoughts? I think maybe one question was overall, did you enjoy this story? Did it scratch the itch of being a satisfying good read, or was there stuff left on the table? I just kind of want to know your final thoughts about Original Sin, and maybe not something you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about.
Oh, I actually did like it. I wanted to see more of Thor, but I guess we'll talk about Thor next week. But I liked it, and I also enjoyed that it was a really clever way of setting up lots of other stories that might spin off into different areas.
Yeah.
But I also at the same time didn't find myself that interested in what all those different stories might be. I just thought the idea was really good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, oh, I've got to find out what they all are. But I liked it, and I enjoyed the mystery that was being set up, because I hadn't read that much before in a Marvel book.
Yeah.
So I thought it worked quite well. And in terms of big events, it was one of the more enjoyable big events that I've read. Of the ones that I mentioned before. So
and I agree. There was some character moments that I thought were really good. I think Steve Rogers has a few moments in here where it's just Cap always being Cap. Cap is next to Thor. Cap's my guy, and I just. But
they just leave him in the dark, though, don't they? I mean, they don't even tell him.
Which is, I think, sometimes
he never finds out.
Sometimes people, I think in comics, and sometimes even a little bit in the movies, there's this thing of well, don't tell Cap because Cap can't handle it.
Yeah, right.
He can fight, he can fight a whole group of soldiers and beat them up with a big metal frisbee. But he can't handle the dark side of the Marvel universe. It's the dude's seen more than most of you have seen. Like just because
Yeah.
he's not an asshat about it doesn't mean he can't handle stuff. Which I thought that was a little bit of a shift at the end. I was like,
Yeah.
he's not a kid. Like
I didn't think they used him very well. Like, so if they were going to bring in all these Z list people, which they did, or whatever F list, some of them, and they used those guys, but then they brought in the A-listers, and they just didn't really hardly use them at all. They almost like literally sidelined them. I mean, Cap is just left in the dark the whole time.
Yeah, because everything's happening behind closed doors.
And I feel like this story, like you said before, with the villains, this story could have had half as many heroes in it, and it could have been the same story told just as well. You didn't need all the people in it. I didn't really understand why they were all there.
And so I think though overall, like
it's good.
Overall, I love the idea of a Marvel crossover event being a murder mystery, and it not being like, oh, this alien invasion or this, the fabric of reality is splitting apart. It's like, no, we just need to get to the bottom of this because it's very important. So I thought that was awesome. I like
the idea of a villain like the Orb walking around revealing everyone's secrets. I quite enjoy that as a catastrophe awaiting to happen, that all your secrets are going to be revealed. That was clever.
So as we transition out of the actual movie talk, the actual arc of original sin talk, I wanted to I'll probably ask a few guests this throughout the weeks afterwards. Stephen, what did you think of Spider-Man No Way Home, since it was such a big monumental movie? It has nothing to do with Thor, but I so don't care. It was that good.
We could make a Thor connection. Besides just what Thor connection can we make to the
they both showed up in this arc. There you go.
There you go. I liked it. I've just seen it, so it's I just saw it a few hours ago actually. I took some time off work and I snuck away and saw it by myself. That was fun. I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. To me, it was, we can talk about spoilers here, can't we? Are we allowed to
at this point, the movie will have been out for a month, and we've already done a bonus episode on it, so have it.
I was genuinely surprised by some of the characters that showed up, and I was really glad to see Daredevil. I was surprised when Andrew Garfield showed up. And
because you stayed away from spoilers,
right? I'd paid attention. I knew that spoilers were going to be a problem for that movie, and I deliberately stayed away from it. I'd heard rumors, so what I thought was that people were hoping that Andrew Garfield would show up and that he wasn't going to. So I was happily spoiled the other way, because I thought, oh crap, I've ruined the movie now because he's not going to show up, and I was thinking that would be fun. So I was actually happily spoiled the other way, and I really enjoyed that those guys weren't just bit parts. They were like properly characters. They had character arcs. They had real emotional scenes together. And there were scenes where it was Spidey 1 and Spidey 2, and Spidey 3 wasn't even there. I really liked that, actually. And I really liked that he got to rescue MJ and didn't.
So
like that. Yeah, that got me. I enjoyed that a lot. It got me more than I thought it would, actually.
Yeah. The scene on the rooftop got me, where they're all talking about the people that they've lost and how they've had to learn responsibility with power the hard way, which I know the words responsibility with power probably give you a chronic headache, but
I enjoyed the fact that they went for it as well. They had Aunt May actually deliver the line, and they just, no irony, no joke, they just did it, and that was quite good.
No, that was.
And I'm enjoying these Marvel. What are we now? Is it 4.0? Like what wave are we?
We are in phase 4. Yep.
Like I'm quite enjoying the human. They're really slowing down for human interactions now. So like I don't know if you're watching Hawkeye. I'm sure you're watching Hawkeye.
I will. So as of this recording, we are recording the day that the last episode of Hawkeye comes out.
Right. So I'll be watching that soon. Yeah.
I'll be watching it probably right after we get done with this.
So, that's fun. The Daredevil connection there and Kingpin and stuff. But I'm just enjoying this turn to the Marvel human element, actually.
Yeah.
And I noticed it with Black Widow. Like I know people don't love Black Widow, but I rewatched it the other day with my wife, and it really, it improved on a second watch quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I just thought, yeah, they're doing something here, like Black Widow, Hawkeye, WandaVision. I didn't like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier very much, but they are like opening up human feeling and emotion, and it's fun. I like it. I like it a lot more. And if you and my wife, she really enjoyed Black Widow. She's like, "Oh, do you think I'd like the other ones?" And I was like, "I don't think you would," because I think what you liked about Black Widow is not what you'd get if you went back and watched the Avengers, for example.
Yeah, like Black Widow is a much darker tone, and it's really raw. Like,
yeah, and she really liked the sister, like the sister interactions with Yelena and Natasha, and she really loved that stuff. And she's like, "Oh, I want to watch more of these." And I was like, "I don't think those interactions don't happen in the other ones."
Yeah, there's not a lot of other, like, I wouldn't necessarily call their relationship a healthy sibling relationship, but it's more positive than like Thor and Loki is.
Yeah.
And there's usually in a sibling relationship in the Marvel universe, either they hate each other or they like each other, and down the road one of them is going to turn on the other.
Well, we had a fun experience because I'm watching Hawkeye with my wife.
Okay.
And her first exposure to Yelena was in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
She has that great scene, right, with Kate Bishop, and that was such a great scene, and my wife just loved it, and I was like, "Oh, maybe you like Black Widow then." So
we definitely need to watch Black Widow now.
So then we went back and watched Black Widow, and I saw it for the second time, and I was like, "This movie is better than I thought it was the second time through." And then so this is fun. So Yelena and Hawkeye is my wife's entry point really into the Marvel universe.
Really? So
she's seen some of it. She's seen some of them before, and she likes Thor. She thinks Thor, by the way, just to get us back onto movies, we enjoyed the Thor. She enjoys the Thor movies as well, so she gets the humor of those. So
he's, it's Thor's dreamboat.
That's true as well. Yeah,
he's pretty easy to look
at Thor. I get to look at Yelena.
So if I'm ever feeling too good about myself, I look at a picture of Chris Hemsworth and I'm like, no, we've got more work to do. So
anyway, in conclusion, Spider-Man, brilliant, great fun. Human touches. The surprises were genuinely surprising to me. Anyway, I know I wasn't. I avoided the spoilers.
You had more restraint than most. So
yeah, but I'm a Spidey guy. I mean, I'm going into Thor because I'm friends with you, but it's Spider-Man really. That's the guy that I grew up with, and that's the guy whose comics I have on my back wall and that kind of stuff. So.
And you know what? I've got a 4-year-old son who, he could care less about all of Dad's Thor stuff. He, I think we got him like 4 or 5 different presents for Christmas that were all Spider-Man, and we're actually by the time this airs, we will have taken him to the Spider-Man movie, and it'll be like the first superhero movie he gets to see in the theater because he has no interest in the other ones.
Will he understand this one though? This one's pretty. It throws you in the deep
end. So here's the thing: he likes the villains a lot, so I think he'll be able to notice the villains, and I think he'll have fun with the fight scenes. I might take him out of the room for the Goblin killing Ant-Man.
Yeah, right.
Scene. But I'm like, let's go get popcorn now.
And don't let him watch. I don't know about you, but the trailers at the beginning of my one was from Mobius, the living vampire. Morbius.
Yeah, we might skip.
That's a bit scary.
We might skip Mobius.
That was a bit too scary. I was like, that's a weird tone. There were a lot of kids in the cinema where I was watching it, and they liked the Spider-Man, but I thought that trailer was not the right trailer for this.
That's gonna hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, that wasn't nice.
But man, we're gonna wrap up this part of our conversation, and next week we're gonna actually get into the side story from Original Sin, the 10th Realm.
Yeah, let's do it.
Everyone, that's going to do it for our conversation with Stephen today. Hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the main story from Original Sin. Stephen's going to be back next week to break down the Thor and Loki-centric side story that went along with Original Sin. But until then, I hope you go check him out on social media. Go check out his own podcast, Tent Theology. It's a fantastic look at current events through a specific faith-based lens. Stephen has really been, helpful and supportive of just some of the personal things I've been going through over the last few years. But Stephen is a great guy. He was a great co-host on this episode. Before we wrap up for today, I want to give you a Ryan Recommends for this week's episode. So I've been reading a lot of great comics lately, and one of the best ones that I've read, it truly has captured my imagination and it's been such a fun read, has been the new recent limited series Dark Ages from Tom Taylor from Marvel Comics. Dark Ages is an alternate universe storyline of what would happen if the Marvel Universe existed without electricity. Basically, a villain is able to cause a big enough problem where Doctor Strange has to send an EMP from another universe throughout the universe that's in this comic, and we're able to see how our heroes would interact, how the world would deal with a super-powered world without electricity. It's a very fundamental concept, but the way that Tom Taylor threads this idea through all these different character plots is just phenomenal. So go check out Marvel Comics Dark Ages if you want to check out just a fun comic. It's such a good read. So go check that out. And then while you're checking that out, don't forget to go over to our social media. On Instagram, we are at the Mighty Thor Podcast. You can check us out there, and we would love to have a conversation with you if you have questions about the show. If you want to share some of your favorite Thor comics, some Thor images, tag us in those. We would love to see those. And also, you can go over to Facebook, join our free public group. We just ask that you be courteous and kind to the people that are already there. There's people there that want to talk Thor with you. If you enjoy Thor, that's a great group to be a part of. Next week, like I said, we are going to be doing the 10th Realm Thor and Loki Original Sin side story with Stephen. He's going to be coming back, and in a few weeks, I was trying to think about this. In a few weeks, we are going to start a complete beginning to end retrospective of Jason Aaron's Thor run. So be prepared for that. We are going to dig into that for the movie, to preview the movie. It's going to be like a 5-month preview. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to enjoy it. I just want you to know that that is coming up on the show. That's going to be our big theme for the first half of this year. So you know how to be subscribed on iTunes, follow us on Spotify. You can rate and review us. Those would be great ways to help the show and to just ensure that more Thor fans can find us. Until then, friends, as I tell you every single week, I love to tell you this. I love to remind you of this. Maybe you need to hear this today. Wherever you are in the 9 realms, I encourage you, stay worthy.